Finding Nemo, directed by Andrew Stanton and produced by Graham Walters. This is the best story about fish and aquatic life. It's truly a great treasure, and it has the majesty and storytelling by Disney and Pixar. It's quite a magical adventure. This, like a lot of Disney and Pixar movies, has me giddy with excitement whenever I watch it or talk about it with anyone. Bluefish and clownfish will forever be iconic now, not just because of their distinct look, because of how great Marlin, Nemo, and Dory are as characters. This is a movie to me like all Disney Pixar movies. In some form, we have a lot of great life lessons about parenting, and this film touches upon the fragile tightrope and challenges of being a parent, and how to toe that fine line between caring for your child and looking out for them, but also being able to let them live life, experience self-growth and development. So that way they do not grow up to be a complete pussy.
Oh my God. What a bunch of pussies.
Sticking through tough times with individuals and persevering is something that all of the main characters in this movie have to do at some point. Even though it's an animated movie about fish, there's some real true grit and toughness in this movie. I mean, still to this day, I love Finding Nemo as much as I did when I saw it when I was 11 years old. In theaters, by the way. In a movie that's an hour and 40 minutes, so much entertainment takes place. The lighting and color in this movie is outstanding. Very vibrant. I think a young baby watching this might be overwhelmed with the vibrancy. Now, if you're like Patrick Star and have been under a rock your whole life, maybe you have not seen Finding Nemo. But if you haven't, here is your 5-second spoiler warning. Marlin the clownfish with his wife Coral, and he's talking up the new home he got for them, and soaking in the fact that he has a great view for him and his wife.
Did your man deliver, or did he deliver?
My man delivered.
It wasn't so easy.
Because a lot of other clownfish had their eyes on this place.
You better believe they did. Every single one of them.
He's really outdone himself. Totally gloating, beating all those other clownfish out clearly was not an easy task. Coral approves of the neighborhood and they swim down to their offspring-to-be. And when it comes to naming, let's just say some men, they don't give it much thought.
We still have to name them.
You want to name all of them right now? All right. We'll name this half Marlin Jr., and then this half Coral Jr. Okay, we're done.
I like Nemo.
Nemo? Well, we'll name one Nemo, but I'd like most of them to be Marlin Jr.
Marlin is a Debbie Downer for certain, and not very optimistic that his children will look at him in a positive light.
What if they don't like me?
Marlin.
Oh, really?
There's over 400 eggs. Odds are one of them is bound to like you.
Then Marlin starts playfully joking with his wife and teasing her about how they met, and it sounds like a riot.
You remember how we met?
Well, I try not to.
Well, I remember. Excuse me, miss. Can you check and see if I have a hook in my lip?
Marlin!
Oh, you gotta look closer because it's way in here.
Get away!
And Marlin drives Coral out of the anemone, only to find her staring at a barracuda, which is pretty terrifying. Even for a human, that would be completely a terrifying view, but for a little clownfish, extremely so. And Coral, concerned about her eggs, makes a sudden dash for it. And Marlin, like any protective father, tries to save his wife and potential offspring. But the barracuda slams Marlin with his tail, knocking him into the anemone, and when Marlin wakes up, he finds there's no coral and no eggs. So in the first 5 minutes of this movie, the guy's lost his wife and all of his children. Not a happy opening for sure. And obviously he's distraught and upset, but Marlin's eye catches one egg that has made it, and that one egg is Nemo. Just soak in the fact that this is a kid's movie, and how it prepares you for the possibility and reality that, hey, your family could be potentially murdered at any given time. We then fast forward to Nemo annoying his father to take him to school. Marlin, a concerned father on full display.
Are you sure you want to go to school this year? Because there's no problem if you don't. You can wait 5 or 6 years.
And the only part of the movie that's ultra cringeworthy, but is still extremely laughable, is when Marlin's trying to tell a joke, because he's a clownfish, so everybody coming up to him is like, hey, you're a clownfish. You must be funny, you must be entertaining, and not so much.
There's a mollusk, see, and he walks up to a sea. Well, he doesn't walk up, he swims up. Well, actually, the mollusk isn't moving. He's in one place, and then the sea cucumber, well, I'm mixed up. There was a mollusk and a sea cucumber. None of them were walking, so forget that.
We then get body shaming of Nemo.
What's wrong with his fin? He looks funny!
Mr. Ray, the school teacher, arrives and asks Nemo the question necessary to get on his back and I guess get admitted into school. What home do you live in? And more savagery by Disney and Pixar is on full display with this answer.
Okay, don't hurt yourself. Welcome aboard!
And when they take off, Marlin says in a soft sighing kind of way, he can't hold on to them forever. And then he gets informed by one of the parents there that he felt the same way when his oldest child got taken to the drop-off for the first time. And let's just say, Marlin isn't too thrilled to hear that.
The drop-off? They're going to the drop-off? What are you insane? Why don't we just fry them up now and serve them with chips?
Hey, Marty, calm down.
Don't tell me to be calm, pony boy.
So Nemo is seeing what life looks like in the ocean beyond his home. And Mr. Ray, I question his adult supervision skills, because he says, hey, you can go exploring anywhere, just stay close.
The drop-off! All right, kids, feel free to explore, but stay close.
These are young children. They do not listen. Ask yourself, when you were a young child, did you listen? There were times where you definitely did not. I know I didn't. So Nemo wanders off with the children of the parents who were not thrilled with Marlin's joke-telling. And they come across the legendary butt. Yes, it's a boat, but in the Finding Nemo underwater universe, they call it the butt. Yes, the butt. It's gone down in folklore.
I know what that is. Oh, Sandy Plankton saw one. He said it was called, a butt. Wow, that's a pretty big butt.
Marlin catches Nemo thinking about swimming into open waters and really lets him have it.
Really, you're not ready, and you're not coming back until you are. You think you can do these things, but you just can't, Nemo.
And Nemo doesn't hold back in his in-the-moment feelings.
I hate you.
Marlin and Mr. Ray have a dialogue about his safety and is there any concerns, and while this is all happening, Nemo takes off. Nemo touches the boat and starts his way heading back, and a diver emerges and captures him, and another one takes a picture of Marlin and completely stuns and blinds him. And I gotta say, the divers emerging, that's a pretty scary scene right there. The divers get in the boat and take off. So in the first 15 minutes, we have a father-son argument where the son says, I hate you. Then a child kidnapping right in front of the father and other children. The boat rocks and a pair of goggles falls off. Marlin in a tizzy, yelling by other fish swimming by, have you seen a boat? And he crashes into a beloved all-time favorite character of mine, Dory. And she apologizes and tries to console him. And Dory's like, hey, I saw a boat pass not too long ago.
The boat!
A boat? Hey, I've seen a boat.
You have?
Uh-huh, and it passed by not too long ago.
So Marlin's filled with excitement for the moment. And they're swimming, and Dory all of a sudden looks back at him and starts swimming erratically. And Marlin has a bewildered look on his face all of a sudden. Dory turns around and is like, you have a problem?
Will you quit it?
What?
I'm trying to swim here. What, the ocean isn't big enough for you or something like that?
Huh?
You got a problem, buddy? Huh? Do you? You want a piece of me? Yeah. Ooh, I'm scared now. What?
Wait a minute.
She's an amazing trash talker, I'll give her that. And she's like, stop following me. And he's like, you're supposed to be showing me where the boat's going.
What are you talking about? You're showing me which way the boat went.
And she just goes into rewind mode and is like, hey, I just saw a boat pass not too long ago.
A boat? Hey, I've seen a boat. It passed by not too long ago.
And Marlin reminds her, you have already told me this. And Dory informs him that she suffers from short-term memory loss. And this was the first time I heard of short-term memory loss in this movie.
See, I suffer from short-term memory loss.
Short-term memory loss.
And she claims it runs in her family, or so she thinks. And then ponders like, where are they? Which set up the amazing sequel to Finding Nemo, Finding Dory. Then we meet Bruce, the great white shark. He's looking for some company for a get-together. And Bruce insists Marlin and Dory get escorted by him.
Come on, I insist.
Okay. That's all that matters.
To this abandoned warship surrounded by balloons, according to Dory, but really, they are underwater landmine bombs. And turns out the party is a therapy accountability session with him and his friends. And they have a catchy pledge.
Let us all say the pledge. I am a nice shark, not a mindless eating machine. If I am to change this image, I must first change myself. Fish are friends, not food.
And they are not fond of dolphins. They are the only fish they are allowed to eat, they say, and they resort to mocking them pretty severely.
Except stinking dolphins.
Dolphins? Yeah, they think they're so cute. Oh, look at me, I'm a flippin' little dolphin. Let me flip for you, I know something.
So bringing a fish friend is a part of this therapy session, testimony. Marlin gets in front of the group, and not voluntarily either.
All right, anyone else? Hello, how about you, mate? What's your problem?
Me? I don't have a problem.
Oh, okay.
Denial.
Just start with your name.
And gives his name and states that he's a clownfish. And of course the sharks are just extremely eager to come up to him and say, hey, tell a joke.
I'm a clownfish.
Clownfish? Really?
Go on, tell us a joke.
Oh, I love jokes.
And we have part 2 of the cringe sequence.
Well, I actually do know one that's pretty good. There was this mollusk, and he walks up to a sea cucumber. Normally they don't talk, sea cucumbers, but in a joke, everyone talks. So the sea mollusk says to the cucumber...
And mid-joke, Marlin spots the goggles hanging on the ship. And it's just funny because one of the sharks thinks that he's finished the joke when he says Nemo when he sees the goggles.
Nemo!
Nemo! Nemo! I don't get it.
Well, a clownfish is not that funny.
And so he sees the goggles hanging on the ship and explains how his son got taken by these divers, and Bruce cries out of sorrow and empathy for Marlin and expresses his daddy issues.
Now there is a father looking for his little boy. I never knew my father.
Come here. We're all mates.
And these sharks aren't too fond of humans, and specifically Americans, it turns out.
Humans think they own everything.
Probably American.
Marlin tries to figure out what the words mean on the goggles, and Dory's like, we need to find fish who can read. Oh, look, sharks. I guess in her mind, just all of a sudden, she figures that sharks can read.
Well, then we gotta find a fish that can read this. Hey, look, shark!
And Marlin and Dory fight over the goggles, and Marlin loses his grip. They slam into Dory's face, and some blood seeps out. And the old adage of sharks with blood in the water? Yeah, well, that effect gets put on full display when Bruce gets a whiff of the blood and his pupils get dilated, and it's almost like seeing someone do cocaine. And Bruce and his shark friends give the intervention needed to prevent Marlin and Dory from becoming fish food. And then they are able to swim into an area where the door behind them closes after the goggles get hooked on the handle. Now looking for a way out, Bruce is banging on the door and Dory has a hilarious response.
Who is it?
And she displays her reading ability.
Escape. I wonder what that means. It's funny. It's spelled just like the word escape.
Bruce is a very powerful, motivated beast, and jars the door open, and we get a Jack Torrance from Shining reference.
Here's Brucey!
I love horror movies. I thought that was great. And it dawns on Marlin when they swim up and out of the escape boat. Hey, you can read. What's on the goggles? Then Bruce funnels Marlin and Dory into the chute where the torpedoes go, and Bruce's friends speak on his behalf, in between him slamming into the opening, and really vouch for his character.
Sorry about Bruce, mate.
He's really a nice guy.
And the torpedo quick shoots out into Bruce's mouth. Marlin and Dory quick grab the mask and swim back up to the torpedo chute because that's the only safe place at this given time. Bruce, in frustration, tosses the torpedo, and right before it hits the explosive balloons, Dory has a great question.
Swim away! Swim away!
Is the party over?
Which then this great scene follows as a result of the after effects.
Nice.
Next scene is Nemo getting dumped into a fish tank at a dentist's office, and then we meet the other aquatic life in the tank. And they all have mental health issues of some sort. But, you know, they're nice enough. So, some people who have some problems, it compensates. Nemo reveals that he is from the ocean, while others are from pet shops, eBay, and after finding this out, Nemo gets decontaminated from Jacques.
Ah, the ocean. The ocean! Ah! He hasn't been decontaminated yet. Jacques! Oui. Clean in! Oui. Ocean! Ouh, la mer. Bon. Voila, he is clean.
And we see how insane these fish are and how they are experts in dentistry.
Root canal, and by the looks of those x-rays, it's not going to be pretty.
Rubber dam and clamp installed?
Yep.
What did he use to open?
Gator Glidden drill. He seems to be favoring that one lately. Now he's doing the Schilder technique.
Oh, he's using a headstrong file.
That's not a headstrong file. That's a K-flex.
And then we meet Nigel, who flies into a window. And he also seems to be quite aware of dentistry and what the dentist is doing on a day-to-day basis.
Hey, Nigel.
What did I miss? Am I late?
Root canal, and it's a doozy.
Root canal, huh? What did he use to open?
Gator Glidden drill.
He's been favoring that one. Hope he doesn't get surplus silver at the secondary portal terminus.
Nigel breaks a picture of the dentist when flying out of the window while getting shoot out, and we see the sight that is his niece Darla.
Hey, little fella, say hello to your new mummy. She's gonna be here Friday to pick you up. You're her present.
And truly horrific. And also, we get to see Tickles. Turns out she was an extreme bag shaker and Tickles just could not take it. So she's a notorious fish killer.
Darla.
What? What's wrong with her?
She wouldn't stop shaking the bag.
Poor Tickles.
He was her present last year.
And Nemo panics, and rightfully so, and gets sucked up into the filter tube. And this hardened, old-timer Gil appears and subjects him to some tough love. He's like, nobody touch him. He got himself in, he can get himself out. A hard life lesson from Finding Nemo. You get yourself into some you get yourself out. Nemo gets himself out. Peach brings it to Gil's attention that he's from the ocean, just like you. And Gil suggests we give the kid a proper reception.
Wow, from the ocean. Just like you, Gil. What are you thinking about?
I'm thinking tonight we give the kid a proper reception.
Then the movie swings back to Marlin and Dory, and they have passed out from exhaustion and fainted, and now they're sleeping in the goggles on the ship that is on the verge of collapsing into the abyss. And it starts to slide, and right before it can crush them, it gets wedged into a large underwater mountain. And unfortunately, Dory lost the mask into the darkness, and offers some wise words of wisdom to retrieve it.
When life gets you down, you know what you gotta do?
I don't want to know what you gotta do.
Just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, swimming, swimming. What do? We swim.
Now it's completely pitch black. You can't see anything, and Dory's mental instability is on full display.
Are you my conscience?
Yeah. I'm your conscience. We haven't spoken for a while. How are you?
Can't complain.
Yeah, good.
Marlin asks Dory does she see anything, and a light emerges, and they are attracted to it. But it turns out it's attached to something very sinister. And Marlin, while retreating from this monster fish, sees the mask pass by them, and Marlin swims away while Dory tries to read the mask while he distracts the fish. And Dory has a quite unreasonable request while this is taking place.
I'm sorry, but if you could just bring a little closer, I kind of need the light. That's great. Keep it right there.
Just read it!
Okay. Mr. Bossy.
Dory's able to read the last line of the writing on the mask, and right before the monster fish tries to eat them, Marlin is able to slap the goggles on the fish, preventing it from proceeding to eat them. And then they have a great celebration that follows.
Oh, yeah. No eating here tonight. Woo!
No eating here tonight.
Dory.
You're on a diet.
And Dory, for once, is able to remember something.
P. Sherman, 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney. I remembered what it said. I usually forget things, but I remembered it that time. P. Sherman, 42...
Wait. Now, where is that?
I don't know.
We then are taken back to the fish tank, where Nemo is asleep, and Jock wakes him up by pelting him with pebbles, and the rest of the fish have a ceremonial type event that is just so cool, I think, and funny. And it looks like a sacrifice is about to be made.
Nemo, newcomer of orange and white, you have been called forth to the summit of Mount Wanahakalugi to join with us in the fraternal bonds of tankhood.
He has to swim through the ring of fire. The ring of fire!
The ring of fire! Turn on the ring of fire. The ring of fire! Oh, you said you could do it. The ring of fire!
And before Nemo takes on this task, it causes quite a stir amongst Peach and Jock.
Isn't there another way? He's just a boy!
Nemo earns the title of Sharkbait after going through the ring of fire.
Sharkbait.
Sharkbait! Ooh-ha-ha!
Welcome, brother Sharkbait.
Sharkbait! Ooh-ha-ha!
Enough of the Sharkbait.
Sharkbait!
And Gil talks to the gang about an escape plan. And it's very articulate, even though it seems like it's ended up disastrous every time.
We're gonna get him out of here. We're gonna help him escape. We're all gonna escape.
Gil, please, not another one of your escape plans.
Sorry, but they never work.
Yeah, why should this be any different?
Back to Marlin and Dory, and Marlin suggests to Dory about going about the rest of the search by himself.
You know, I think it's best if I carry on from here by myself.
And it's a very upsetting scene, and he does not do a good job of articulating himself and letting her down lightly. And he very much upsets Dory.
You mean you don't like me?
No, of course I like you.
And this group of fish approaches Marlin and has some words for him.
Lady, is this guy bothering you?
I don't remember. Were you?
No. We're
And they are a fish group that does impressions, and Marlin gets frustrated and says nobody's helping him find his son, and Dory gives him a friendly reminder.
While they're doing their silly little impressions, I am miles from home with a fish that can't even remember her own name.
Boy, I bet that's frustrating.
Yeah, because no fish in this entire ocean is going to help me.
Well, I'm helping you.
Dory then asks the fish group if they know anything about P. Sherman 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney, and they all know about it and tell them to follow the EAC, which is the East Australian Current.
What you want to do is follow the EAC. That's East Australian Current. Big current. Can't miss it. It's in that direction.
And they offer one last piece of advice to Dory about swimming through the trench instead of over it. And then not even 5 seconds later, Marlin and Dory come across the trench, and Marlin says they are going to swim over it because it looks menacing to swim through it. But it was just 10 seconds ago they told Dory about swimming through it. But she don't remember, and Marlin's able to distract her by saying something shiny just swam over the top, so of course she goes with it.
Look, something shiny!
Where?
Oh, it just swam over the trench. Come on, we'll follow it.
Okay.
Marlin is able to spot the current in the distance, and Dory meets her Squishy, which is a very, very, very microscopic jellyfish.
Hey, little guy. I shall call him Squishy, and he shall be mine, and he shall be my Squishy. Come here, Squishy. Come here, little Squishy.
And it stings her.
Ow!
Dory, that's a jellyfish!
Bad Squishy. Bad Squishy.
Shoot, get it!
Marlin examining the sting of the Squishy, the jellyfish, a mob of jellyfish descends upon them. And Dory makes the discovery that, hey, you can hop on the top of them without getting stinged. So while Dory's having a good old time bouncing on the top of the jellyfish, Marlin, in order to get her attention, says, hey, we're gonna play a game. And while navigating the minefield of jellyfish, they start talking trash. They make a little competition about who can finish, and he gets out the other side. But there's one problem. Dory did not make her way out. And he goes back in to find her unconscious and rips through the jellyfish tentacles and makes it out. And they both fall unconscious. Then you see this shadowy figure approaching them while they are fading out. Meanwhile, back in the tank, they are about to commence the escape plan. The beginnings of their escape plan by getting the tank filled up with algae. So Nemo hops over the propellers of the filtration system, and Gil throws him a pebble and tells Nemo to wedge the pebble in the propellers to stop them from turning. While swimming up the tube to get back into the tank, the pebble becomes dislodged and starts pulling Nemo back down, and the tank squad has to shove a plastic plant stem up to try to reel him back in. And they're able to bring Nemo back in, but Peach tells Gil, hey, we can't do that again. And Gil agrees. Then it's back to Marlin, and we hear the voice and see our very high, under the influence sea turtle friend, Crush. And even though back in the day we didn't know he was acting high, still we thought it was hilarious because we just thought he was some funny, dopey surfer dude, like Jeff Spicoli from Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Things look kind of rough out there today.
Well, I'll tell you, Stu, I did battle some humongous waves.
Look, let me ask you a question. When you get out there, do you ever fear for your life?
Well, Stu, I'll tell you, surfing's not a sport. It's a way of life, no hobby. It's a way of looking at that wave and saying, hey, bud, let's party.
Marlin tells him he needs to get to the EAC, and Crush has just a great reply.
Listen, I need to get to the East Australian Current. EAC?
Oh, dude. You're riding it, dude!
And we get to see all the other sea turtles cruising along, and then a roller coaster type speed commences.
Okay, grab shell, dude!
Grab what?
Marlin, like a great concerned friend, asks about Dory, and Crush informs him that she's passed out beneath them.
Dory, is she all right?
A little blue. She is sub-level, dude.
But she wakes up like nothing has ever happened and has made friends with the little sea turtles. Turns out she was playing hide and seek, and one of the little guys, Squirt, gets tossed out of the EAC, and Marlin starts freaking out because he's the worrywart parent.
Oh my goodness!
But Crush is not an overly concerned father, and they have a whole celebration about it when Squirt's able to make his way back in. Crush was like, hey, check out what my son's about to do.
Whoa, kill the motor, dude. Let us see what Squirt does flying solo.
Whoa! Yeah, did you see me? Did you see what I did?
You so totally rock, Squirt!
And I love how every other word out of his mouth is dude. It's just fantastic. And he gives Marlin a great nickname. He calls him the Jellyman.
Jellyman, Offspring. Offspring, Jellyman.
Jellies? Sweet.
Totally.
And Crush gives some great parenting advice to Marlin when he has a question about fatherhood for him and what to do with your child.
But dude, how do you know when they're ready?
Well, you never really know, but when they know, you'll know, you know? Oh.
Marlin has a gather around the campfire type moment with the little Tykes and Dory because they want to know where he is going and find out from him that his son got taken away, and they want to know all about it. And Marlin starts telling it, and we get this scene where word of mouth spreads. Everything from different birds to underwater aquatic life, and they're basically telling the story of how Marlin is going to find his son, but obviously the story gets misconstrued and contorted because the things that are said are just incredible.
Nemo's dad?
He scares away the sharks by blowing them up.
But it's just really funny, I think. Then it's Nigel with some of the best characters in the movie, I think. We get the Mine Seagulls.
Shut up! You rats with wings!
Mine? He overhears his acquaintances talking about Marlin looking for Nemo, and he finds out Marlin is heading for the harbor, and Nigel takes off. Nemo, depressed by the idea that he's going to be Darla's pet, goes over to Gil and apologizes to Gil about not being able to get the job done. And Gil tells Nemo that he's sorry that he was willing to put him in harm's way in order to get back to the ocean, and says he's sorry about not being able to get him back with his father. And it hits you right in the feels.
I'm sorry I couldn't get you back to your father, kid.
Nigel flies back to the window and tells Nemo that his dad is looking for him, and tells him everything he's gone through, and slightly over-exaggerating about how he took on 3 sharks.
He took on a shark!
I heard he took on 3.
3 sharks? That's gotta be 4,800 teeth!
So yeah, a tad over-exaggerated. And Nemo is obviously very skeptical. But he is motivated by hearing this, and tries to clog up the filter again, and does get it done. And Gil fires up the tank gang by saying they have to be as filthy as possible within the next 48 hours to get the tank filthy.
All right, gang. We have less than 48 hours before Darla gets here. Be as gross as possible. Think dirty thoughts. Good work.
Now it's time for Dory and Marlin to depart, but not before Crush gives them the final instructions, as well as Squirt.
Okay, first, find your exit buddy. Do you have your exit buddy?
Yes! It's low! There's a screaming bottom gang, so watch out! Remember, rip it, roll it, and punch it!
It's like he's trying to speak to me, I know it!
And Squirt helps them out literally.
Say the first thing again!
Okay, Jellyman, go, 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 go!
And Crush bids him farewell, and Marlin finds out his age, because he promised in the beginning of the movie to Nemo, if he ever met a sea turtle, he would ask them about their age.
Crush, I forgot! How old are you?
150, dude! And still young! Rock on!
So they start swimming, and time goes by, and Marlin gets concerned that they are going in circles, and actually points out, hey, didn't we swim past this speck just before? And Dory says, let's ask for directions. But the problem is, there are no fish nearby except this shadowy figure in the distance. And of course, Marlin has his reservations, and Dory asks for him to trust her. And Marlin feels guilty because she had been hurt by the jellyfish, and we get the visual of it, and Dory starts her dialogue to what she calls the little fella. And we see that it's a whale. And one of the best moments in cinema history happens with Dory trying to communicate to the whale, because she thinks she speaks whale.
Dory. What are you doing?
Then the whale swims away.
See? He's swimming away.
Come back.
He's not coming back. We offended him.
Maybe I should try humpback.
No, don't try humpback.
Whoa!
All right.
And winds up actually being able to swim around and creep up behind them. And right before they are inhaled, Krill swim by saying, swim away. And it's too late. They wind up getting inhaled. And it's too late. They wind up getting inhaled. So now it's back to the tank where it's gotten plenty nasty with algae, and one of the fish has a great line that gets cut off.
Don't you people realize we are swimming in our own?
Here he comes.
And they get what they want. The dentist says he's going to clean the tank. Meanwhile, Marlin and Dory are stuck in the whale, and Marlin has just about had it with Dory. He's just fed up with her and her shenanigans. Marlin tells Dory that he promised Nemo that he wouldn't let anything happen to him, and Dory actually imposes some wisdom on Marlin. If you say you're not going to allow anything to happen to your kid, guess what? Say that out loud. Literally nothing will ever happen to your kid, which is actually a pretty depressing, miserable type thought.
I promised him I'd never let anything happen to him.
That's a funny thing to promise. You can't never let anything happen to him. Then nothing would ever happen to him.
Now the whale is starting to swallow the water, and now they are hanging on his tongue. And Marlin shoots down her ability to talk whale because she's not giving this up. And when Marlin tells her the reality of it, he actually calls her the wrong name and says she's Nemo. Dory gives up and loses all hope.
You can't speak whale!
Yes, I can!
No, you can't! You think you can do these things, but you can't, Nemo!
Okay. And let's go. But Marlin saves her, and Dory tells Marlin that the whale says it's time to let go. And Marlin reluctantly goes along with it, because what are they going to do? Are they just going to stay inside the whale's mouth the whole time? And lo and behold, they shoot out of the whale's blowhole. They are right where they need to be, at Sydney. And Marlin is so happy that even he tries to speak whale like Dory, and she's jealous of his skills.
Thank you, sir.
Wow, I wish I could speak whale.
Peach wakes up to a clean tank, and they find out that the dentist installed a new filtration system while they were asleep. Obviously, they must be extremely heavy sleepers, because I think that would cause some ruckus or some disturbance where you actually might wake up. And Peach gives the rundown of how it works and its features, and it sounds like it's incredible.
The Aquascum 2003 is an all-purpose, self-cleaning, maintenance-free saltwater purifier that is guaranteed to even extend the life of your aquarium fish.
Right after the dentist tries to scoop Nemo up with the fish net, the rest of the fish tank swim down in the net with him and pry it away from the dentist, because they know once he gets out of the tank, he's gonna hand him off to Darla when she gets there. But unfortunately, he bags up Nemo and places him outside the tank. Nemo tries to roll off at the window, but not before being placed in a tray. So now he's in a tray and there's nowhere to go now. Then the terrifying creature that is Darla opens the door. And now back to Dory and Marlin, and they are looking for the boat that took away Nemo, and while doing so gets scooped up by a pelican, and Marlin lodges himself in the throat of Gerald, which is an acquaintance of Nigel and his flock of fellow pelicans.
Sun's barely up and already Gerald's had more than he can handle.
Yeah, reckon somebody ought to help the poor guy.
Yeah, right.
Oh, well, don't everybody fly off at once.
So Nigel goes to help him, and Marlin and Dory are exposed when he opens his mouth, and Nigel smacks him on the back to get them out of there.
Rubber duck! I gotta find my son Nemo!
And Nigel knows all about him and his son, but before he can say anything to him, they're hopping along the deck away, and he shouts that he has something to tell him, but right after we see bird crap come flying down, and it's the mine seagulls hovering all about.
Mine.
Nigel proposes to Marlin and Dory, hop in my mouth if you want to live.
Hop inside my mouth if you want to live.
And Marlin is reluctant to do that because a pelican just tried to eat him. And Nigel is able to grab them and scoop up some water, and the chase is on. And he's able to outmaneuver the mine seagulls. And then it's back to the dentist's office, and we see Darla torturing the other fish in the office. And the dentist is ready to give Darla Nemo as a present. But luckily he is faking playing dead, making the dentist think he's flushable. But instead of sending him down the toilet, he winds up walking over to the trash can. And Nigel comes to the window with Dory and Marlin sees Nemo about to be placed in the trash, and tells Nigel to get in there, but he's hesitant, and Marlin imposes his will to get him to do it by yanking on his tongue. And complete and utter chaos ensues, but there's a pause in the action, and Marlin sees what he thinks is Nemo dead. And Darla grabs the bag and starts the whole wake-up fishing routine, and Gil pulls a quick rescue plan by being fired out from the ring of fire, right onto Darla's head. The patients witnessing the commotion from the waiting room, incredible sequence, and the tank gang talking crap as well is just fantastic.
Smack her in the head!
Go, Gil, go!
So the bag that Nemo's in breaks, and him and Gil are lying near each other on the dental instrument table, and Gil is able to catapult Nemo from one of the instruments into the spit drain, and Darla gets squirted on. So now Nigel drops off Dory and Marlin into the bay, and Marlin says he's going home. And Dory has become really attached to him and feels like she'd be lost and lonely without him.
No one's ever stuck with me for so long before. And I look at you and I'm home.
And it's really another sad moment that just it hits you in the feels.
I don't want that to go away. I don't want to forget.
I'm sorry, Dory.
I'm sorry. And so now Marlin's swimming away, back home, and Nemo pops out from a drain that Marlin just swam past. Nemo winds up stumbling across Dory, and Dory can't remember if she lost somebody, so she's back to square one. Nemo says he's looking for somebody, and then this epic part takes place after he introduces himself. I mean, it is just incredible.
I'm Dory.
I'm Nemo.
Nemo? That's a nice name.
It is so funny. It's one of those funny moments, but it's also one of those like, oh my God, I can't believe it type moments. And then when they're looking for Marlin, Dory sees the word Sydney on one of the drain pipes and has a Jimmy Neutron brain blast type moment.
Sydney. P. Sherman 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney.
Nemo! It's you! You're Nemo! Yes, I'm Nemo!
Oh, you're Nemo! I found you. You're not dead, and your father. Your father.
And the crabs that Marlin just swam by refuse to help Dory when she asks if they have seen him. So Dory resorts to lifting him up out of the water for the mine seagulls, and he spills the goods. He's like, alright, she ain't f***ing around. Marlin swimming away gets caught up by Nemo and Dory, and they are reunited at last. But this giant net comes by trying to scoop up all these fish, and Dory is caught in the net as well. And Nemo tries to go in the net to tell the fish to swim down to prevent them from becoming fish food. The mantra of Dory's keep swimming gets applied to this scene, and it works. After the net breaks, they find Nemo under it, and you're thinking to yourself, it cannot end this way, that they find him, and now he dies after this great rescue plan that he devised. My 11-year-old heart could not have handled if that's how it went down. Could not. And then we get this great heartfelt moment of, I don't hate you, Dad. You know what? I mean, that's pretty great where we started out. We started out with, I hate you, to, I don't hate you by the end of the movie. So, I mean, it's not an I love you, but that's a great improvement right there. And we get to see the last final moments. Marlin's excited to take Nemo to school, and he's the one having to wake him up now. And he becomes funny.
Then the sea cucumber looks over the mollusk and says, with fronds like these, who needs anemones?
So by the end of the movie, Marlin doesn't become as possessive. He's funny. He's opened up now. Squirt becomes an exchange student. Bruce and his crew come to visit as well and give Dory an escort. And it ends with an I love you and see you later, Dad-son moment.
Love you, Dad.
I love you too, son.
I see you later, dude.
Bye, Elmo.
Nemo.
Nemo. Bye, Nemo.
See you at the school, Dory. Bye, Dad.
Bye, son.
And the final cutscene is the algae in the tank. The tank gang found a way to clog it, and while the dentist stepped away, they were able to make their way into the water and across the street, and Peach is the last one to make it in after complaining about a short red light.
That's the shortest red line I've ever seen.
Come on, Peach.
And they made it. The only problem is...
Now what?
Now what? We're all in the baggies, and how do we get out? In the final credits, though, we were able to see them playing in the ocean, so we can say that they made it out of the bag somehow. They got ripped or torn by something, who knows, but it is really nice to see in the final credits them all swimming about. That's fantastic. Finding Nemo, one of the best animated and Disney Pixar films ever made. This was a movie I saw as a young boy, and I loved it then, and I certainly love it now. All these great talking fish, a lot of drama, uplifting moments. We see the development of a young child and a father from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie and how they grow together even though they were apart the whole movie. Great scenes and dialogue and drama and suspense. All of that rolled up into this great Disney Pixar movie. My final grade for Finding Nemo. Can I get a drum roll, please? An A. We take a look at the Rotten Tomatoes scores. Tomato Meter gives it a 99% and the audience gives it an 86%. Certainly their views on this movie line up with mine. So both the audience and the critics, to me, they got this one right. Finding Nemo is a movie that's something that all of us moviegoers can gather around and say, yes, this is a great, fantastic movie. If you enjoyed this movie review, please hit that like and subscribe button down below, as well as that notification bell, so you are notified of the next Ryan Woolley movie review. I am Ryan Woolley signing off saying thank you and hasta la vista, baby.